Today we are one step closer to the truth behind the Andrews government's hotel quarantine catastrophe, which led, of course, to the tragic death of 801 Victorians. Victoria's Director of Public Prosecutions, Kerry Judd, has been handed a 20,000-word report which argues prosecutions should be launched against politicians and bureaucrats for breaches of work safety laws as part of Victoria's hotel quarantine program. Make no mistake, this is hugely significant. This report didn't come from the desk of WorkSafe Victoria, the government body now led by a former Labor staffer, Colin Radford. Despite the fact that WorkSafe Victoria are supposed to be the body to take action here and have spent more than a year investigating the alleged breaches, they've failed to meet their statutory deadline. Instead, this report comes from a crack team of top occupational health and safety lawyers put together by the Chief Executive of Self-Employed Australia, Ken Phillips, who's been fighting for justice for Victoria's dead. Ken Phillips joins me now. Ken, thank you for your time. As I said, this is hugely significant today. In putting together this report, your team has pored back over the Coate Report, page by page. What have you found?
Well, quite extraordinary, really, because we found what we didn't expect to find. And what, as we've discovered, is sitting there in very plain view was all of the evidence that clearly shows that the prosecutions of the government and the persons in the government must proceed. The evidence is just quite overwhelming.
Right, well, without naming any individuals here, what sort of alleged breaches are we talking about? What's your team identified, Ken?
Well, it's more, I think, what Coate has identified. So to understand how this program unfolded, Coate puts down the evidence that quite clearly what occurred was that the Department of Health was charged as or appointed as the designated control agency. Then the Department of Jobs was in charge of the contracts with the hotels, the cleaners and so on and so forth. But the Health Department turned around and said that even though they were the control agency, they were not responsible for ensuring that the infection control procedures were implemented properly in the hotels. The Department of Jobs said they knew nothing about this, so they weren't prepared to be in command of that. And Coate says that what happened is that literally you had a managerial vacuum in which no one was responsible to ensure that the procedures of infection control were followed correctly in the hotels. And Coate describes this as a situation effectively of then chaos, with no one knowing what was going on or what should occur. And she referred to it as a catastrophe waiting to happen and a disaster that came to be. Now, they're her words. Now, when you look at all of this from the occupational health and safety perspective under the law, the very fact that there was chaos at this top end and there was no control, no responsibility, that of itself is a breach of the OHS Act, according to the lawyers. I'm not a lawyer, but that's the clarity of it.
And of course, if this was a private sector business with this sort of chaos at the top, we wouldn't be 12 months into a WorkSafe Victoria investigation and no deadline met, would we?
Well, our view is that the evidence is just so stark and sitting there in plain view that prosecutions would have been well underway by now. That's certainly our view.
So why, if this is all there in a government-sanctioned board of inquiry, which was the legal standing of the Coate inquiry, if it's all evidence very much available to WorkSafe Victoria, why has it gone on for 12 months at WorkSafe Victoria without a resolution?
Well, look, I've got to say that's a complete mystery to us. All we had to do was sit down and read the Coate Report carefully. And it's quite a dense read, I've got to say. But the evidence is just really terribly, terribly clear. And so we simply can't understand why WorkSafe haven't picked this up. So look, here's the evidence, off we go. The investigation becomes quite straightforward in simply going back and interviewing again the people that were interviewed in Coate Review and getting their evidence there, and they've got to say what they already said under oath in the Coate Review. So it's really quite a mystery to us why we're being told that the investigation hasn't been completed and why they can't proceed.
Okay, so what happens next? You've got this review that the statutory deadline has not been met by WorkSafe Victoria. What's your next move?
Well, we're not going to sit back and do nothing. And so the situation at the moment is that WorkSafe had to reply to us, and they, within the 9-month deadline, which they did 6 weeks ago, and said, look, we're not proceeding at this stage. We then triggered an extra provision under the Act that said that this then had to be referred to the Director of Public Prosecutions, which it has. And what surprised us was last Friday we received a letter from WorkSafe saying that they haven't supplied the material to the Director of Public Prosecutions, and the Director of Public Prosecutions has said that as a result of that, she is unable to conduct her review, which she is required to do at law. So she's been put in a very, very compromising position, we believe. And so we have then turned around and said, well, look, we've done this review ourselves of the Coate Report. Here it is. We hope that we are helpful. We hope that we give you a starting point, that we hope that we are assisting you to undertake the work that we fully believe that she would want to do. So at this stage, it's sitting in the hands...
So sorry, Ken, sorry to jump in there. Does this mean it's now on Kerry Judd, the DPP's desk in Victoria?
Look, again, I'm not a lawyer, and I'd have to be guessing. How this plays out in a strict legal sense would be for the lawyers to talk about. But certainly from a common sense perspective, I would certainly think and hope that what we have supplied to the Director of Public Prosecutions assists them in their exercise, and we would believe, no reason that we wouldn't believe, that the DPP is interested in doing what the law has asked and requires her to do, and we hope that we've been helpful.
Well, we'll stay across it with you, Ken. I'm going to ask some questions of the Victorian opposition to see where they are in all of this as well. But you've done a mighty job. You've done a mighty job for the dead. You've done a mighty job for anyone in the state or indeed the country who wants to see some justice. Keep going and we'll stay close to you. Ken Phillips, thank you for your time.
Thank you.